Hi Rose, thanks so much for getting in touch as part of our school support offer, and as promised I've recorded you a really short video to try and address some of the areas that you've mentioned in your email. So you mentioned things like being able to give specific formative assessments based on criteria, and also being able to use a feed forward task for each student so they can show progression within the next lesson. Well, what I've done is I've set up a piece of work in MarkMate to try and illustrate how this might look. It's a very generic piece of writing called writing assessment. And within that piece of writing, I've set up two specific assessment criteria: use of adjectives and how well they've used punctuation within their sentences. I've also then got a section underneath called the feed forward task, which is going to allow me to then give a specific task in that next lesson. Now, what I can then do is give students individual feedback for, say, the particular criteria. So I'm going to just mark Abigail, just her, and what I'm going to do is read through her work and give feedback and formative assessment based on that particular criteria. I'm not going to give her a feed forward task at this stage, but what I'm going to do is, as I mark my individual students, I'm going to group their work based on sort of misconceptions. So as I'm going through, I'm going to group the students based on the similar misconceptions that they've done in their work, and then I'll show you in a moment. I can group each pile of books and give them all the same fast feedback task so that they can then all respond to that. So here's an example. I'm marking Abigail's work. I'm really pleased by the amount of adjectives you've been able to use in your sentences, and it's really good to see some original ideas. So I've given her some feedback specific to her, and then I'm going to say she's secure in this particular criteria. Save that. Then I'll go into how well she's used punctuation. You've used a fantastic range of punctuation in your sentences, and I'm really impressed how you've used semicolons to add an extra part of your sentence. There we go. And then I'll say she's secure in that as well. So I'll save that. So now I've given Abigail specific feedback directly to her, and I've recorded a formative assessment judgment. I might go through now and continue the process with all of these individual students, and as I mentioned, group them based on misconception. Now I'm going to go through and give the feed forward task to a group of students, including Abigail. So I'll give Abigail, and let's say these 6 students all have the same misconceptions, and I'd like them to do something specific in that next lesson. So for example, can you read through the first 3 sentences in your work and try to add 3 different adjectives? There we go. Save that. Now that's applied to all students that I've selected, so that whole group of students. So I've now given Abigail personalised feedback for the main criteria, and I've then grouped students based on misconception and given them a specific feed forward task. Now when I come to print the label for Abigail individually, she'll have her individual criteria feedback and also that feed forward task ready to go. You can print all of your labels in bulk, so you don't have to print one by one. You can go through, mark all your books over the course of a night or a couple of days, and then just before the next lesson, print everyone's feedback out, all with their own names on. The last thing I just wanted to show you in terms of formative assessment, every piece of work that we mark in MarkMate is being recorded and stored, all of our feedback and grades. So here's today's piece of work, writing assessment. If I then open up today's piece of work, I can see those individual criteria that I gave feedback against, the results that I've given, but also if I hover my mouse over, the comments that were given for each particular criteria. So this is a great way of keeping track of everybody, but then getting an overview of how everyone's performed within that piece of work, so you can then plan and inform that for the next session or the next lesson. So this is just a really kind of quick demonstration of how MarkMate can help support what you're looking to achieve within your marking and feedback in school. If you'd like to arrange a one-to-one Zoom call with myself, we can go into more detail and look specifically in use cases within assessments that you mentioned. And also, if you'd like to have a go at using this within your setting, then we can help facilitate that as well. Any questions at all, don't hesitate to get in touch. Cheers, Rose.